Don't get old, guys. But it's more positive in. Oh, you know what? I'll figure it out. All right, I'll figure it out. And then I'm going to put it on pilot. I'll send it to you an email. I'm going to figure it out. Because I'm not going to sit here and look like an idiot and waste your time. I'll figure it out. Did you write it down? Oh, it's on the recorder. Good, send it to me. All right, I'll figure it out. It was worded beautifully, though. It was like a poem. It was like a poem. Okay, so let's move the permeability now. Let's move the top of page 145. Or 146, whatever page it is. We can change the movement by also changing the permeability, not just the concentration. So let's just pick one. You pick one. Potassium chloride or sodium, you tell me. Chloride. Okay? Which way does chloride move again? In or out of the cell? In passively. Okay? So we're going to put some negative charges here. We don't have to worry about the concentration here. Well, we have to worry about the concentration, but it's not going to be part of the story. We know that the concentration gradient makes chloride move into the cell. What I'm going to do here is that we're going to have a permeability for chloride of about 0.45. And you tell me, should it go up or down? We'll make it go down? Okay, let's make it go down. More or less chloride is going to move. Less. That number tells you how much. The smaller the number, the less the movement. I'll make the arrow smaller. So, should I add more negative charge to the inner membrane, or should I get rid of some? Should get rid of some. By. Tell me what happens to membrane potential. Is it get more negative or more positive? It's going to get more positive. As you decrease the permeability of chloride, it's going to cause less negative charge to enter the cell. And so now the inner membrane is less negative, which means it's more positive. All right? So Vm equals more positive. And depolarizes. We just excited the cell. That's the top of page 146. Why aren't there as many scenarios? Because there can't be, because you can only make permeability go up or down. All right? There's not an intracellular permeability or an extracellular permeability. There's just permeability. Okay? Are we good? Yes? Let's do one more. I'll pick it. We'll do potassium. Potassium moves out of the cell, we know that. I'm going to make the permeability of potassium go up. Okay? Just going to give it a number, just 2. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to make it go big. It's just going to go up. So do I make the arrow bigger or smaller? Bigger. Okay, we had our positive charges out here because we had a certain amount of potassium leaving the cell. A certain percentage was going to get stuck in the outer membrane. So now should I add more positive charge in the outer membrane, or should I get rid of some? Add more. Circle them because these are the ones we're adding. Membrane potential, more positive or more negative? More. A lot of times these positively charged ones and how when more of them move kind of out of the cell give you some trouble visualizing. Is the outer membrane now more positive? That means the inner membrane must be what? More negative. It has to be the opposite. All right? Because we're doing a direct comparison between the two. So membrane potential equals what? More negative. Why did it get more negative? Because the outside got more positive. Okay? We hyperpolarize. We inhibited that cell. Okay? Are we good? That's 2 of the 6 examples that are on the top of page 146. All right? I will change it on the exam. If you know what the charge of the molecule is, if you know the direction in which it moves, then you can't get it wrong if you just give yourself some time to think about it and just don't panic. But if you learn it, now remember, oh my God, do not memorize those pages. Or you'll be so screwed on the exam, I can't even begin to tell you. All right? Learn it. If you learn it, you'll be fine. Okay? 3 main things. Know the charge, know the direction in which it moves, and then know what's going to happen as a result of the difference in movement. It's the movement of the ion that counts. I can't begin to tell you how important it is. Okay? So that was all that. Now what? Let's talk about something special here. Let's talk about an action potential. Up until this point, Lecture Siebert, and there was nothing wrong with this, called it an electrical impulse. The name is now going to change. We are going to call it an action potential. That's what the electrical impulse that Siebert was talking about. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It is an electrical impulse. What is an action potential? An action potential is a change in membrane potential. That's all. That's all it is a change in membrane potential. It happens really, really fast, and it's really, really big. And it does something unique. Okay, so we're going to draw an action potential. All right? See, what we'll do here is we'll draw a neuron. So there's a neuron. That's the axon, right? What's this thing with a little circle in it? That's the nucleus, so this must be the cell body. Another name for a cell body is soma. Okay, presynaptic terminals, you know all this stuff, dendrites, the whole 9 yards. Okay? I'm going to take just this little piece right here of the axon, right there. And I'm going to stick my little electrode right there. And I'm going to measure membrane potential right there at that point. Okay? This is membrane potential on this axis. This is simply time. All right? What do you think this is? Nice and steady membrane potential. What do you think that is? It's resting membrane potential. And an axon's a membrane. An extracellular fluid. There's an intracellular fluid. There are leak channels there. We're generating a resting membrane potential. So we can label that. We're very familiar with it. Resting being. Now, right here at that point, we're going to stimulate the cell. What's going to happen to membrane potential? Does it get more positive or more negative when we stimulate it? It gets more positive. What's another name for that? So the D? We're going to depolarize the membrane right there at that spot. So if we were measuring membrane potential, we would see the membrane potential do that. Tell me how that could have happened. What could have changed concentration-wise? So if we're going to depolarize the membrane, maybe more positive charge on the inner membrane, how could that happen? What would we do to sodium concentration on the outside of the cell? Make it go up or make it go down? Make it go up, right? Could we have increased extracellular sodium concentration and caused a depolarization? Absolutely. Could we have decreased the permeability of potassium? Would that cause a depolarization? I'm not saying it's right, I just wrote it down. You tell me. Decrease the permeability of potassium. Will that cause a depolarization? Yes. Okay? That's two ways you can cause a cell to be stimulated. Diminish its potassium permeability, increase extracellular sodium, increase extracellular potassium, decrease intracellular potassium, decrease intracellular sodium, decrease extracellular chloride, okay? Increase intracellular chloride, decrease chloride's permeability, increase sodium's permeability, decrease potassium's permeability. All of those things will cause a depolarization. How do I know that? Or where did I get that? Pages 145 and 146. I just rattled off page 145 and 146 in about 15 seconds, which you guys will be able to do too, once you learn it. Yes?
So it's both positive, you're just measuring the charge. It doesn't matter so if you were on the exam and you said less sodium concentration and then more.
I have to tell you where the sodium concentration is small. It would have to be inside the cell. If I diminish sodium concentration inside the cell, I increase the gradient for sodium to move inside the cell, that will cause a depolarization. I can't say that the sodium concentration went down. That's not enough.
But if you say it like that, and you say you also increase the potassium concentration inside the cell.
Inside the cell?
Yeah.
I'm not going to change two things on the exam and ask you to weigh them. Okay? If I were to make you do calculations with the GHK equation, then I can do that to you guys. But you don't have to do that. Now, could I have in a question 2 or 3 things that do the same thing? Yes, but will I have 2 or 3 things that do the opposite thing and then you have to figure it out? No, I won't do that. Okay? So, we're going to depolarize this cell. We're going to excite the cell. We're going to stimulate the cell. This dotted line is going to represent something very important. It's called threshold. Threshold is a new membrane potential that's more depolarized than resting, that when it is reached causes the action potential to occur. Here's another important point. Before I get to it, I'm going to ask you a question. Does every cell in your body have a resting membrane potential? Of the 40 trillion cells in your body, do 100% of them have a resting membrane potential? Yes. But only a handful of cells in your body can generate action potentials. What are they? Neurons can do it. Muscle cells can do it, whether they're heart muscle cells, skeletal muscle cells, which you're going to be learning about soon, one's connected to your bones, or smooth muscle cells, which we'll learn about later on this semester as well. Some glial cells can as well. That's it. All right? Epithelial cells of glands can't do this. Basal cells cannot do this. Okay? Columnar cells within your lung airways cannot do this. Neurons can, muscle cells can. That's pretty much it. This is a very unique thing that cells do. Why is it that these cells can do it and other cells cannot? Special channels that I'm going to talk to you guys about. Okay? They're called voltage-gated channels. What are the channels responsible for resting membrane potential? What are they called again? Start with it now. Link channels. The channels responsible for this. Here's our action potential. Once we reach threshold, boom, look what happens to membrane potential. It gets positive as hell. So let's say I'm going to give these actual values. I'm going to say resting membrane potential is negative 55 millivolts. That's 0. I don't know, plus 30. I'm kind of making these numbers up, but they're real. Membrane potential is no longer negative. Resting membrane potential is always negative, right? During an action potential, we go through 0 and we get positive. That's how depolarized we are at this time. Then we're going to reach a peak. And once we reach that peak, then we're going to come screaming back down towards resting, and actually we're going to get a little bit more negative, and then it's going to swing back up, and we're going to hit resting again. There's your action potential. The action potential is from here to right before we get to resting. There's your action potential. It looks like a spike. So if we were to measure membrane potential right there at that little piece of membrane, those are the kind of changes we would see. And it's mind-bogglingly fast. That whole thing takes about 5 milliseconds. You know what that means? It means that that action potential can happen about 200 times in 1 second. That's how fast these changes are. When we talk about the body, which is a beautiful thing, you're not going to be able to wrap your head around some of the things that it does and that it's doing right now. Okay? These things are very, 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 very fast. It says in your notes. Very large, very rapid, depolarization, followed by, here's a new word, repolarization. What's repolarization? Repolarization, for physiologists, is when membrane potential returns back towards normal after there's been a change. I'm going to draw it for you, all right? We're going to draw depolarization, hyperpolarization, repolarization in the same figure. We're going to measure the membrane potential of some cell. Okay? Membrane potential time. We're going to be resting. So this is resting. We're not going to do an action potential. We don't have to get these terms down. What's that called? Start with the D. That's depolarize. So we're going to depolarize, and then we're going to repolarize because we're coming back down towards resting. Okay, so that's resting again. That right there is called repolarize, repolarization. Repolarize is coming back toward resting after a change has occurred. What's that called? We're getting more negative, that's called hyperpolarize. And when we return back towards resting again, that too is repolarization. So after a change has occurred, if membrane potential returns back to normal, I don't want to say normal, to resting, that's repolarization.